This week on Hacking TV, some serious growing pains for DirecTV Now.
But I got it, and you know what? I rather like it.
Apple seems to like Hollywood. It's said to be shopping for scripted TVs and movies even.
I would always like something with a big checkbook. Meanwhile, Amazon likes anime.
And nobody likes the NFL, well, at least on Twitter. I'm Steve Rosenbaum.
And I'm Saul Hansel. We've got all that and more on the last Obama-era edition of Hacking TV.
Hacking TV. Greetings, everyone. And let's call this the Obama Memorial Edition.
Here's my complaint, right? We don't have Obama as a guest, and we've asked. And he has done every podcast, every TV show. He had an interview with a book review editor of the New York Times, and he was cooking up a storm on the Food Channel. I mean, he's everywhere.
I bet we could get Biden.
Okay, there we go. And
I'll reach out.
Okay.
On Twitter.
Joe has all the energy in the world, and, the future of TV is a big effing deal, as somebody might say.
So should we begin with DirecTV?
DirecTV is, again, my argument is that this is a piece of the biggest story of the year, the replacement of cable with over-the-top cable. And guess what? Like a lot of these things, it's been really buggy. There have been all kinds of shows where, the thing went out, the streaming doesn't work. It's sort of complicated to stream to everybody all at the same time. And complaints aplenty.
So there's, pick a side. You can one way to look at it is startups are startups. They're going to have bugs. The other is this is not a little company, guys. Come on, let's burn the midnight oil and get the tech working. No,
that's fair. Although, I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers, say the Apple, the iPhone 4 that had antenna issues, and guess what? Something like 100 million people ended up buying them and keeping them for a while, and they were fine. I tend to, expect companies I pay a lot of money to do a good job, but to also give people a break at the beginning of something reasonably new.
But also do keep in mind, people have an expectation that television isn't a new technology, right? So for most viewers, they don't really care whether it's coming over the fat wire or over the Wi-Fi or over the thin wire or whatever wire it comes to your house or over the air, magical. They still kind of want it to work.
Right. And most of the time YouTube and Netflix work, but we've all had problems with them. YouTube has all kinds of eccentricities, but that's different than cable. So,
But I would just argue that people have enough choices in OTT that if you go to DirecTV Now, pay for a month, have a bad experience, and sign off, getting you back, that might be a long journey back, long road back.
That's going to, now we will see. Sling had some trouble at the beginning too, but a year from now we're going to have a lot more competitors, and it's going to be interesting to see, what keeps people around. Now, I've got to say, I actually took AT&T up on the offer, right? Mainly because you could buy 3 months of service at $35 and get a free Apple TV, and I didn't have the new Apple TV, which costs more than $105. So what the hell? And obviously I owe our many listeners my opinion of this whole phenomenon we've been talking about. And I sort of like it, with a couple of exceptions. On the Apple TV, it's reasonably smooth, it's reasonably fast. I haven't had any bugs, but I've mostly been swishing around to run it through its paces. And it feels faster and more flexible than the cable box I have from Fios. It's a little bit more like...
Ooh, really?
An on-demand service. It's a mixture, right? The navigation either lets you flip back and forth between channels, go to a guide, or a perfectly sensible interface to find shows, and you can just go stream the latest episode of whatever shows they have streaming rights to. You can do a little bit of pausing live TV, and apparently you're supposed to be able to restart a show after it starts running, or watch any of their shows within the 72 hours, but those features have been turned off for some reason this week. Maybe because everything was buggy. I don't know. But it's
so you're cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, mainly I spent a couple of minutes trying to figure out, can I cancel my damn contract with Fios to where I'm buying channels from them, and basically they have it priced that if I don't buy phone and TV from them, I will pay more just for the internet than I will if I buy the channel. So they are structured in a way to strongly discourage people.
I think you should call them up. I think you should call them up and say, listen, if I pay you even less, will you come and cook dinner for me? Like, if I pay you even less than that, will you clean my house and, like, wash my car? In what normal world does paying less get you more? I'm sorry.
I want less.
Right.
Yes.
Which will cost you more.
Right.
It's like going to the supermarket and saying, no, I don't want a pound of hamburger meat. I want a hamburger. Like, we don't sell that. You have to buy it. Anyway, so now let's dig into this Apple thing. So this has been kicking around for a while. Let's start with the obvious question. Has anyone seen any show that Apple has produced?
Okay, so let's actually pause for a second. The Wall Street Journal has sources say Apple is wandering around Hollywood looking to commission some scripted TV shows and maybe even some movies. And as best as the Journal could figure out, and this hasn't been corroborated, this is, for the time being, meant to be a bonus for people paying $10 a month for Apple Music, rather than a separate streaming service, because they think Apple Music hasn't beaten Spotify enough.
So this is literally Apple copying Amazon. Like Amazon Prime, we'll just bolt our content. That's really sad.
And
by the way, am I allowed to say sad, or is that word now banned from the show? I'm sorry.
We try to be nonpartisan in our sadness. Let's just leave it at that. But Apple, is trying to figure out, does it want to be Netflix or not? Amazon is a competitor. It makes hardware. It has services. We'll talk about Amazon in a minute. But Amazon is also a TV network, right? Or whatever they have, a streaming service. Google isn't. What do they want to be? I think it's not impossible, but it's harder for them to be a platform company and have hardware and software platforms, and also to be a programming company, because they like to integrate their shit so well.
So
it's like the NBC.
Can I just do a sidebar comment and an enormous high five and vote of support for Amazon on something that's been very surprising to me. About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, after I guess a year of not, I finally forced myself to try and watch Man in High Castle.
Okay.
And
what
it
did
is
you think?
So extraordinary. So well made, so well written, so well produced, so well directed, so compelling and disturbing and thoughtful. And I keep thinking to myself, because they're now in the second season, so that means this was essentially greenlit 4 years ago, 3.5 to 4, and then shot for 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine now, 2.5 years ago, long before we had, now it has all kinds of complicated optics around the election and, Nazis and all this stuff. But back then, imagine being the executive that has to build an entire set, hire costume designers, hire graphic designers, and tell them that they want accurate swastika Nazi uniforms and sets. Like what? Like, and none of those pictures leaked. You know, there was. I mean, it's the images are so profoundly disturbing. Like it just makes me think to myself. Someone went to Bezos and said, "We're going to do this alternate history. We're proposing an alternate history series in which we're going to feature the Germans having won along with the Japanese and splitting America in half." And Bezos greenlit that. I mean, it must have gone.
I mean, Philip Dick novels. You know, it's like it worked for Blade Runner. But yes. So,
which is why I think Apple doesn't have a shot.
Because Tim Cook doesn't have the
because the nature of making content is not you wander around with a checkbook and hope that some really talented people just take your money and make something wonderful. Both in the case of Netflix and to some extent Amazon, if you look at the things they've done that have been, you know, look at Transparent or, you know, look at, I mean, a bunch of the things Amazon's done have been really risky.
But wait a second. Now, you might have looked at Amazon 5 years ago and said, here's a company that's really good at delivering packages and runs a really good computer system. And you wouldn't have said, these people know how to make television shows.
Agreed.
And
but by the way, and to be fair, if out of the box, Apple starts producing risky, creatively daring, if you know, but I don't know.
Remember where this is coming from. So Beats was founded by Jimmy Iovine and some other people in the music business. So those are people who are about in their own music businessy way, taking risks on creative people. And I think what's going on is the people from Beats are trying to do their thing and getting a little bit of money from Uncle Tim. And so my best reading the tea leaves is this isn't a giant strategic thing. Tim Cook saying, we are going into the content business, like Randall Stevenson buying Time Warner. It's just he's going to let the guys at Beats play for a bit and, you know, a couple $100 million. What the hell? By the way, a thing that I am liking more than I thought I would, in fact, is Apple Music. They have figured out something that's hard, which is how to have fresh programming for a service that has the same content every day. Just their sort of new for you channel just is always giving me an interesting playlist drawn from the stuff that I like. And it's sort of nice, and it makes me happy. And even though everybody else in my family wants to go back to Spotify, I actually like Apple Music. And that's maybe it's just me.
I haven't tried it, so I'll take your word for it. So let's go. Let's talk about you stumbled into these Amazon channels. Explain that.
Right. So there's a press release that came out. Amazon launches an anime channel. Right. We already have Crunchyroll, but Amazon's launching its $5 a month add-on service. Right. So if you get Prime and you want more of something, you can get some more anime. That's fine. That's a perfectly good niche thing. But the interesting thing, if you go look at the logo, right, it says, what's it called? The Strike on Anime Strike on Amazon channels. What's that? So you go scroll through Amazon channels, and they've got a perfectly nicely organized directory of 100 different fee-based subscription services. Right? $5 a month for this exercise thing, you know, $10 a month for somebody else's thing. I mean, we knew these things were all out there, but it's sort of a nice presentation, and you can sort of see what you can get, and it sort of made me say, well, why hasn't anyone done that before?
Well, Roku would argue they have.
Well, Roku and Apple and Google have app stores where you're looking at the app and then you go and you read the fine print, and some of them are free, some of them are subscription based, some of them are freemium. That's all fine. That's a not a bad strategy. I mean, I believe in app stores, but there's something about just saying, all right, I want to make my own cable thing, right? What do I want? I want HBO or Showtime, which Amazon will sell me, and maybe I want this or that, and maybe, you know, Amazon's just getting into it. Could they bundle them together? Interesting. Could they, you know, what can they do for me? But basically, they, you know, they'll tell me what I can get, handle the billing. It doesn't cost them a hell of a lot to build one.
I'm going to get the Warriors and Gangster channel.
Go for it. And
I got to say, I'm looking through these. There's a lot of channels I've never heard of.
That's what good retailing is about. And, you know, if we can ever work things out. So, Jeff, I know you listen every week. Call Steve and figure out why your damn computer won't actually let us upload more than the first 2 episodes.
Well, you know, it's a longer conversation because all right. So we let's do the I told you so of the week, because this one's a good one.
All right. So Twitter, which has as their CFO, now COO, Anthony Noto, used to be the CFO of NFL, and still serving NFL's interest, they announced some humongous deal to live stream 10 games this fall on Twitter, football games, and the ratings are out, and they're microscopic. All the advertisers are pissed off. The average audience was 265,000 people per minute, which is like 1% of the total football audience at those times. I mean, it's, you know, a big flop.
I'm sorry, I just don't understand how the Twitter form factor is thought of as a long-form viewing form factor. I just don't see it.
Right. I mean, if you said to someone, what are all the things that you do on Twitter and you want to do on Twitter? No one's ever going to say, oh, you know, I can't wait till they start showing me football games because it's such a logical thing for Twitter to do. I mean, there's a Twitter app on my new Apple TV, and it's like, I don't entirely get what that is, if it's other than a browser. And now, so Anthony Noto gives an interview, and he says, well, it's helping us with distribution because we got the NFL, we're able to talk to other people. And he says, our audience for the NFL was under 25 and 25% outside of the U.S. Now, most of the time media companies don't want outside of the U.S. because they can't make as much money on it. And I guess young people are good for Twitter because it skews old, but it turns out that the people who did watch football didn't watch for very long. The average viewing length was like Twitter length.
Speaking of form factors, I have not seen this in captivity, but a couple of my friends on Facebook say that they are getting an alternate Facebook page that has a button for video that takes them to a full video world inside Facebook. I asked to see screen caps of these, but I haven't seen them yet.
I thought I saw that button on my Facebook the other day, and I clicked on it and it didn't blow me away, but I will try and grab a screen capture so we can discuss.
And as long as we're doing I Told You So.
Yes.
Some of our listeners may remember that Saul and I have an ongoing bet. I was betting that Yahoo would not close, and that
the Verizon's purchase of Yahoo would not close,
right?
Because they only had the world's biggest computer hack in history. Yes,
twice. But in fact, I was wrong, and it appears they've got a new name, something with an A.
Well, they're preparing for what's going to be left in the shell of the Yahoo company for a bunch of tax reasons. They're basically selling all the parts of Yahoo you've heard of as an asset sale to Verizon, and what's left is going to be the basically stock in Alibaba, which is worth a lot, and a couple of other dribs and drabs, and so it will trade as an arbitrage stock under the name of something that's sort of like Alibaba Light. But
maybe I misunderstood. But the Yahoo brand will remain at AOL?
Well, Yahoo has or AOL Verizon has the rights to the Yahoo brand, and what they do it in their, graveyard of, defunct internet brands, I don't know. But
Marissa's out as a board member.
Marissa leaves. Everybody leaves. And we'll see.
But you get your $10 from me.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, it's got to close first, but yes.
It does appear that you're going to win that bet.
So I am looking forward to the official gloating.
Let the gloating begin.
Yes, and
speaking of gloating, what do we mean when we say girding up for Trump? What does that mean exactly? What are we girding up for?
Oh, you're jumping down to the section of stuff that I was going to get around to reading about, but didn't. But yeah,
no, I'm sorry. Did I miss something? Maybe I did.
It's okay. The serves me right for like throwing stuff at the bottom of the rundown. But it's interesting. So what's going on is you've got people trying to build their fact-checking machine. So the BBC now has a team of people that are going to try and do fact-checking programming. And there was a profile in Business Week about Storyful, which was been doing fact-checking around YouTube videos and authenticating YouTube videos for a long time. The News Corp bought. And so Trump is, helping a little mini boomlet in the fact-checking industry. So go long fact-checking stocks.
Does anyone make money, like, checking facts?
The guys, I don't think they sold Storyful for much. But it's
I was thinking of what's
your startup plus my startup are worth combined.
What's the fact-checking site that everyone...
Oh, Snopes. I think it's a family-owned thing, if I'm not mistaken, because people have been trying to buy it for years, and they don't want to sell. But I'm sure they make a buck or two, on courtesy of ad networks.
Right. So my apologies. Back up to the rundown because
It's okay. We are. It's all interesting. We will see. Is anyone going to stream the inauguration on Twitter? That's their latest announcement. If it didn't work for football, maybe, since it's the Twitter presidency, maybe this is the connection that is going to make Twitter TV work, is they just sort of have a live camera in the White House with while Trump tweets all day.
All I will say is this. When I'm expecting something to go live and I want to find the live stream, my bias is that I go to Facebook and type the thing that I'm looking for into the search bar and I find a live stream. I don't go to YouTube. I don't go to Twitter for that experience.
What's interesting is you have discovered something that feels reliable to you, and that's a year old. You wouldn't have said that in January of 2016. And they have done something consistently enough, and we're in the right place, and we're Facebooky enough to become the place for live, which makes me think, what the hell is their TV app strategy? Because, I have a new theory. Because as I played with my DirecTV now, it was clear that there was just no reason on earth to watch anything that was recorded in advance in a cable-like structure. You just want to navigate to the show. However, you want stuff that's live, news and sports. So here's the product. And frankly, Twitter probably could do this, but they're not gonna. You make an over-the-top bundle that's just news and sports. Disney should do it because you mix a good ABC channel with ESPN and, maybe some live concerts, and you say it's all the stuff you don't want to watch on demand. It costs you $20 a month. And you wrap Twitter around it because the only thing that Twitter and TV is good for is chatting about stuff, but it's optional and it's part of the Twitter TV service, news, sports, and live events. And suddenly you have a brand that stands for something. Free advice, Anthony.
I'll send Anthony a note, and
Yeah.
I'll send him a noto.
Okay. All right. On that charming note, we are going to say goodbye to Barack Obama, say goodbye to 21st century Camelot, and gird for whatever Armageddon comes next.
Certainly, all of our journalist friends are deeply concerned. The Correspondents Association was a veritable shouting match on the White House just to rattle cages, suggested they might move the press office, out of the White House.
Into the NORAD bunker somewhere in the hills of the Rocky Mountains, I heard.
Yeah, that's about right. So we will keep track of that. We will not be watching the inauguration, but if news breaks, we will be back next week to talk about that. Until then,
if the world is still here, we will be here to talk about the TV side of it. All right. Until then, everybody, keep on hacking.
Keep on hacking.